Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started with our managing academic and teen stress. Super excited for today. Really excited to be able to merge academic stress and being able to manage that in a well and healthy way. So really excited to have Christina Ivanhoe here with us. In just a minute, we will go ahead and introduce ourselves and sort of dive into this really interesting topic. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and just talk about a few things, sort of give our audience an idea of what to expect for the webinar today. So honestly, our hope is for everyone who's in attendance that this webinar will feel more like a conversation as opposed to a training or a class or anything like that. There will clearly be some structure to it. We have some very specific topics that we will cover, but really just a conversation between two experts in two areas that are married pretty easily here. So really, really excited about that. Our goal is to educate and support students and families during this time. There are a lot of stressful situations going on around families this time of year. Academic stress for sure, but also just COVID-19, cultural stressors, just social emotional stress. Like there are tons and tons of stressful things happening around us this time of year, planning for, Christmas and the New Year's and things like that. But our goal today is to really help students and families be prepared and be able to manage well all of the stressors sort of around schooling. We're going to sort of focus on academic and some seasonal stressors right now. But a few housekeeping items. The Q&A function is live and available for this webinar to all of our guests. So we will do our very best to answer questions as they pop up or as they are live. However, if we miss one or we don't see one, there is a moment at the end where we have the availability to just read all of the Q&A questions and answer them at that point. So with that being said, we definitely want to encourage you to, throw a question in the Q&A. Again, if we don't get to it live, we'll absolutely address it or answer it before the end of the presentation. So I'm very, very excited. So here are the topics that we are going to cover today. Today's meditation, as we sort of talk about managing stress, right? These are the things we're going to think about and discuss today. Obviously, we'll share sort of our own stories and journeys and who we are. We'll be addressing academic struggles or stressors such as preparing for finals, coping with college, acceptances, and sort of the uncertainty around some of that. Preparing for next semester battle. We'll talk about scholarships and money management and finances this time of year. So again, these are just sort of highlights of what we'll be talking about. But we really plan to just have a conversation and encourage and educate everyone who's joined us. So I will start with the introductions, primarily because I'm already talking, but for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kortney Greene. I am the senior college admission consultant with Farrat Education in Arizona. I've been in education forever, as it says on the screen, about 18 years. I've been an independent educational consultant for about 3 years. I've been with Farrat for about 1.5 years specifically. I have worked in charter schools and private schools throughout Arizona. Most of my time has been spent as a college counselor, but I do have the fortunate experience of being on the other side of the desk. I did work in higher ed and admissions here locally for several years, so I have both sides, which is unique and fun. I've met with and coached and worked with well over 200 students in all things college admissions. I've helped students earn about $10 million in scholarships. I've visited well over 20 campuses. Just on a side note, to get to know me a little bit, I am sort of a college nerd in that on every family vacation, we do schedule in at least one college visit. So that's just been something we've sort of built into our vacation traditions. Um, our daughter has grown to love that. I mean, we've been doing it since she was 5. So maybe not the funnest thing as a 5-year-old, but as a sophomore, as a 15-year-old, she has definitely seen the benefits of visiting many college campuses. So that's just a little bit about me. I will turn it over to Christina and let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Christina Ivanhoe, and I have been in the wellness business for years. But a little bit about me and why. I don't know why I'm gonna almost cry. It's so weird, but I think it's because I'm so passionate. But I raised myself as a kid, so I have had such a deep passion to help others because you as parents and you I don't even know why you as parents and you as as kiddos, it's hard navigating, it's hard navigating all of it, and you guys have so much more than what we had. I'm 44 now, and what you guys are dealing with is way different than what we had to deal with in a natural way. So I have had a deep passion to help kids, and I have a lot of kid clients that I help, work through stuff and stress management and feeling better and looking at it in a different way and reframing. And because when I was your guys' age, I wish that I would have had somebody in my life, or as a parent, I wish I would have, I wish that my mom would have found somebody to help me. So I have a deep passion for just walking alongside you and building you up and building my clients up in every way that is, however it is that they need. We just meet you where you're at and then we walk alongside you. But you guys have a lot of, I wish that I knew when I was your age what I know now about life and about all of the things that you guys put on yourself for stress, because stress is the number one thing that is really it's like a silent killer, and it can really do havoc on your bodies and on your minds. And when you guys are studying for these SATs and you're doing stuff in school and testing, it really can wreak havoc on it. And so I want to help you guys reframe it into like it's like a process and a training for real life, because really that's what it is. I'm married and I have a 13-year-old. She just turned 13. And so yes, we are we are learning as we go, but I'm here to support in any way that is.
Awesome. Thank you, Christina. I love what you said, just about the support part, right? I think that, as we were sort of talking about a little bit before we started the webinar, there are students, our kids, high school students, even middle school students are just faced with so much right now. Just this season in their life, for some can be really confusing. So thank you for sharing a little bit about your, upbringing in life. I think that will really resonate with some people, and we know that we go through things in life, hardships and trials, to be able to help others. So I love that. So thank you for sharing that. So I'll sort of start with the academic stressors that many of our students are likely facing at this point. We know, honestly, with the onset of COVID-19, academic settings across our state, across our country, even the world, have really been flipped upside down, right? Some schools are 100% online. Some schools are 100% in person. Some schools are doing a hybrid learning environment where kids are on campus a couple days a week and then at home online a couple days a week, and then have work days sort of assigned in there. Like, it's just confusing. Even within one household, you can have each one of those and potentially more options for online learning, right? And that can alone create a tremendous amount of stress. Navigating how to submit assignments, how to communicate with teachers, when to communicate with teachers. All of these things have now been sort of thrown into the mix of the high school experience. I can remember being in high school myself forever ago. And just as we were getting ready for the end of the semester to roll upon us, just the natural stressors that I felt. And so we know that with the natural normal stressors of finals approaching and these new learning environments, things can be very, very stressful for high school students. So we definitely want to, again, educate and inform our families as much as possible. And that's why we picked this weekend to sort of start this conversation, right? Finals, at least in Arizona, and I'm pretty sure across the country, are getting ready to start the week of December 14th for a lot of families, for a lot of students. And so we thought this would be the perfect time. So let's start the conversation and again, create space and opportunities for students to be successful. That's really, really what we want to do. In addition to that, we do know that, again, just with the difference in the online learning, students are failing at a higher rate than they were this time last year. Those rates are different in different states. I've talked to a number of educators in sort of the Southeast Valley area, and I've heard as high as 50% of students, 50% more of their students are failing this year at this time than they were last year, which in and of itself can be stressful for students, right? When the grades aren't where they should be, especially in high school, as students start to think about planning and preparing for college, it's just overwhelming, I would say, for some students, to say the least. In addition, we have a plethora of experiences that students are wrestling with. For example, we have a whole new group, a whole new class of high school students, right? Class of 2024. This is their first time that they're taking high school finals that actually matter, that are going to go on their transcripts, that their colleges are going to see, right? This is sort of a big deal. Not to mention, we have students trying to figure out exactly the grade that is needed, right, on their final in order to pass the class. As I just mentioned, an increased number of students are failing. Therefore, that means students are trying to figure out how to manage their grades to be successful. Not to mention, students are likely asking teachers, asking parents, asking themselves. This isn't just class of 2024. This will be all 9th through 12th graders asking, what should I expect for my final? What does that look like this year? Finals likely will not be the exact same this year as they were last year, at least not across the board. And so honestly, to answer all of these questions and more, I think it's really important to focus on, sort of as we talked about in the beginning, focus on both the academic solutions as well as the wellness solutions, right? Healthy solutions, staying healthy during this time. And I don't just mean staying away from COVID, right? I mean mentally, physically. Christina, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but how can students stay mentally and physically well so that they can be present, again, mentally and physically, to take their finals? This is really, really important. So just regarding the academic solutions, there are a number of things students can do to be prepared and to prepare for finals in an online learning environment. I would say the most important thing that they can do academically is to communicate. Communicate the level of stress that they're actually feeling with their teachers. Teachers are feeling the same, right? Teachers are human too. I think our students can forget that from time to time, because our teachers definitely do can appear superhuman occasionally. So communicate, right? Tell your teacher the stressors that you're feeling and why. They're the first line of defense for all things classroom. So asking questions, being proactive, these are really, really important things that students can own and be responsible for in an academic setting to be prepared and to be engaged. So a real practical example of that would be to ask your teacher if you can create a study guide for your class. That might seem more work or more overwhelming for students, but the reality is that as students are actually creating a study guide, they're learning, they're studying, they're revisiting and re-engaging with the material in a way that's maybe new to their brain or helps them remember in a new way. And then they can share that with their classmates or their peers. Honestly, a great tool for this is Quizlet. I've made my daughter do this on several occasions. Quizlet is very easy to use. It's free, just requires a simple sign-on account, but you can create flashcards actually that can help students remember information. And one thing I do love about Quizlet in particular is that you can be quizzed from either side. So the word or the definition side. So that students, again, are using sort of both sides of the brain and getting those neurons really firing to remember the information. Because again, high schoolers have a lot of information to remember for these upcoming finals. Another practical example of being prepared sort of in the academic setting is to offer a study group session for your peers, for your classmates, for your friends. Even during lunch. I know that's like the taboo time, and students like to, take time off during lunch and sort of take a break, which I totally think is necessary, especially during the school day. But just a casual conversation about the most recent content in a class. Again, just another opportunity for students to engage with the material. Even in an online learning environment, it's really easy to set up a virtual study session. It's as simple as using Google Meet, right? Free, easy to do, very easy to navigate. But that would allow students to engage with the material with friends in a virtual learning environment in order to be prepared for whatever those finals might look like here coming up real soon. And then another thing to do, obviously, is to always ask teachers if they have a study guide that is prepared. That a lot of teachers clearly do that. And then again, engaging in small group formats around that material is helpful. Even I want to go back just a minute to even the Google Meet study session. You could even divide it up to assign a chapter or a content area to each friend, and then you guys sort of prepare questions around that you can ask each other. Come to the Google Meet prepared, right? I think preparation is definitely a name of the game in this new sort of learning experience or this new learning environment. Again, just want to reiterate that really the best thing to do to figure out what to expect on a final is to ask your teacher. Talk to your teacher about the expectations. Some good common questions to ask right now are, will you be required to take the final in person? If you're taking it only virtually, things like, does your camera have to be on? Do you have to share your screen? Or is your teacher doing something completely different and requiring a project? Whether in small group or just another way to show that you understand the material, that you grasp the material, to show that the standards have been met for that particular topic. So teachers are prepared, even if students feel really, really stressful or confused or unsure. Teachers are definitely there and ready to engage. So always the encouragement from academic standpoint for being prepared is first and foremost is communicate. But Christina, I want you to go ahead and share just some of your thoughts and encouragements for how students can prepare and be ready for finals, sort of in that physical and emotional place.
Thank you. Yes, I think that all you said was amazing. And I really loved, I just want to point on it. I love the whole creating a study guide because it's proven that when they're creative and they're creating this, you're creating a study guide, you're able to be creative while you're doing it. So it allows you to be free. And so your brain will obtain like 25% more you normally would, because you're being able to just be free with the study guide, and it gives you something to like share with others. So there's like a reward at the end. So I loved that. Also, so my daughter is dyslexic, and so we've had plenty of time to prepare. So I'm excited to tell you that the ways that have helped, because we have had to, you have to start, like, you have to create a timeline. So, how I've got you start studying now, I know you guys have like, what is today, the 6th? So you guys have 9 days, before your first final. So you can create, get all your stuff that you need and create like a timeline for yourself in your planner, like just allow like 1 hour so that you're not stressed out, but it's in there. Because what happens is our brain, I mean, I get it. Like, I'm an adult and I still do it, but you're like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. And then it gets larger. And then destination is now you're cramming the night before and you're not getting any sleep. And then you're get stressed out. And yes, while you may do well under pressure, I think that if you were prepared, you're like, okay, like, slow and steady always wins the race. So if I could, give you anything, that is really like one of the major, and like it helps to get it out of your brain. Like, your brain has so much, right? So, and then you guys have so much going on and there's so much around, and you're about ready to go on Christmas break, and there's so many things that you're thinking about. It's really important to like brain dump. So even if you give yourself like, I don't know, a 10-minute like brain dump, or whatever it is that you want to call it, but then you write all your stuff out. Like, I have a notepad that's right by my bed, because otherwise, like, so that I can just write it down. Because now that I'm 44, if I don't write it down, a lot of times I'll so that's the real reason. But I've learned to do that through the years, and it works. Or post-it notes. Like, you guys can say that you just put something that you want to remember, or you just put it in your car. Like, if it's one little study fact, put it in your car, and just, or if you guys are driving or wherever, but just keep it in front of you. There's something that, that you guys, just to keep you continuing learning. And I also learned one other one is music. So you can always, like, we had these, Hannah went to a Christian school, and we had all these long Bible verses. Like, I'm talking about like a page. And so to remember it, we would actually listen, we would YouTube it, and we would listen to the Bible verse through music. And she nailed it every time because of the music. And so your brain does obtain it through music. If you ever think about like any songs that you remember and you're like, I don't even know why. I mean, I'm older now, and I remember, like, why do I remember that Shaka Khan song? No meaning to me, but I do remember all of it. Vanilla Ice, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's true. So you just remember it. So I just want to share that with you.
Yeah.
Then if you guys can, honestly, I wouldn't even say if you can, I'm asking you to do it. Exercise. I know, like, I know it, it's getting colder. We don't want to do it, but 10 minutes will shift your brain. Like, I promise you, it'll shift. You get in you've got your own time, you got your earbuds in, you've got your music playing, and your brain literally will shift from your sympathetic nervous system to your parasympathetic nervous system. And what that is you move from fight or flight, because you're worried about all your stuff that you have to do, to, oh, I got this, I'm fine. Because you gave yourself something. You gave yourself 10 minutes. And it make it, for, if you can do more, do that. But just start with 10 minutes, walking or doing like honestly, like, I would make my daughter do 25 jumping jacks. And literally, and then she would look at me, she's like, this is silly. And then by the end, she was like, this is awesome. So they're silly little things, but this is all training for you guys for when you are older like us, and you have to do real life. Like, you're doing life right now, but I'm just telling you, you'll have those things to, like, it'll go on with you, and you'll have coping skills. And that's the whole reason, honestly, that I believe that we're here is to give you these, so that when you get out there in that big world, you're like, oh, I just need a 10-minute break. I'm gonna go for a walk. So that you can reframe yourself and get out of whatever it is that's stressful. Social media, sorry. But social media is It's fun, yes, and it can be very time consuming. Growing up, I didn't have social media. I'm gonna sound like an old lady, and I always did not care for these women that would say this to me when I was your age. Like I was like, okay, you're whatever, you're old. But when we were your age, we didn't have phones. Like you went to somebody's house and you knocked on a door or you called them and they didn't, if they had call waiting or whatever, but if they didn't pick up, then you waited.
Yep.
So about instant gratification. And we're always like, oh, well, they didn't answer my call. Well, I'm going to look on social media and see what they're doing. Like, who cares? Like at the end of the day, we're responsible for ourselves. And if we could start, if you guys could really start to know how important you are. Like this is you. At the end of the day, it's you and your parents and your family. It doesn't matter. You're probably not going to talk to half these kids for real when you get out of school. So I there's a lot of like, stuff. There's a lot of stress that you guys have. And I think, it's an interesting time because you guys are all coming into your own skin, you're getting your own voices, you're getting all this stuff. But I feel like if you could stay in your lane and know I'm in charge of me, right? And they're in charge of them because that's the truth of it. Because like you're going to change them anyways. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercial out that like the guy, I don't know, he's like a parent person and he basically is telling them you're not their dad. It's like it's a funny commercial anyways, but he brings it back like we're not in charge of other people, we're in charge of ourselves. And at the end of the day, nobody cares about your excuses. They just don't. As um cold as that may sound, it's the truth. They only care about how you showed up. So you can show up and go, oh my gosh, I have all the blah, blah, blah. They're not gonna remember that you had all that stuff, and they're not gonna have empathy for you. Probably they're gonna be like, what is going on? Instead of learning, like the power is in you guys. You guys take back your power because you get it. You take back your power because you're in charge of you and you're fine. And so we don't need to control anybody. We don't need to be watching what everybody else is doing. Allow yourself, like, I don't know, challenge yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to get on social media for like 2 sets of like 30 minutes. I know that's hard probably, but it just start of something. And then the other part of the social media is, you can't believe everything you see. Like all these people saying, and I'm a mom, so I'm just going to tell you, all these people, they act like their lives are perfect. Oh, because you're not going to put the junk on your friends are not going to put the junk on Facebook. They're not. Nobody does. Nobody puts their junk because nobody wants to read it, unfortunately. I know that's sad too, but it's the truth. So who cares? Like you just can't, you have to know that everybody's going through something. So all these filters and all this stuff that they put on there, it's like it's not all real. Like you don't know what's going on in their day. Like honestly, like and I'll just give you a quick. I mean, I have had people like all the time, like, oh, you must have been, silver spoon and spoiled. And I'm like, you have no idea. I got this way because God made me go through all that other stuff as a child to who I am now, to where I can passionately look at you guys and share that you're going to be okay. Like this is going to be okay. And we're going to all get through this. But you can't ever judge, and you never know. Like people that are being mean, they're not being mean because they want to be mean. They're being mean because something's going on at home and they don't know how to express it. And it has nothing to do with you, because I guarantee any of you wouldn't go out and just call somebody like a loser or whatever. You wouldn't just be mean unless you have stuff inside of you. So I just want to share that with you, so you guys just don't take that stuff on. Like the person that thinks that they're going to get a perfect, final. I'm perfectly doing. No, who cares? Like stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane, and I promise you, you'll be a lot happier. Because it's not going to matter anyways. Is it going to matter in 2 years? No, they're not going to matter. So, and then the last one is to get enough sleep. Oh, so I don't know. Some of you guys might like to sleep. I was never a sleeper. Like I literally, my husband's had to teach me how to really, really sleep. And I've learned because, my brain never stops, right? But you guys, we have to get off our social media like an hour ahead of time. At least give it an hour, put it down somewhere where you're not going to get on it first thing in the morning. And you're not going to look at it before you go to sleep, because what that does is it stops the melatonin growth, and it keeps the blue light, keeps your brain in fight or flight. So when you can't fall asleep, it's usually because your brain has been activated by all the stuff that you've been on the social media and stuff. And at the end of the day, does it matter?
Mm.
What's more important? Whatever's going on social media or you?
Yeah.
You're more important. Try and, just turn down your lighting. I know that, you probably live in your parents' homes, but, this is good for the parents too. It's, when you have bright lights at night, it's hard for your brain to like shift. Create like one little routine that you can do, before you go to bed. I always make tea, but whatever it is, so then you guys can your brain will start to know, okay, it's time to calm down. And then when you're my age, you guys will be perfect. Because you'll have all this stuff if you can listen to it. Yeah. So that's about it.
That's great. I just want to highlight two things that you said, Christina, that I just appreciate so much. The first one is exercise. I think that's huge. And I was actually having this conversation with my daughter today, telling her that, we're going to start going to the gym more because it's about training. It's about training your body, and even training you to recognize, have some self-recognition to know when you're just off. Like we just have those days, those moments when we are just feeling icky or yucky. But yeah, 10 minutes on the treadmill, lift weights, go to a Zumba class, like whatever it is, can release so much stress and just give you that clear mind, like you were saying, to really focus on what you need to do next. I love that. The other one is social media. I have social media. I don't love social media, but I do have it. But I do think that I mean, we could do a whole like year-long webinar, I think, on social media, but I do think there is something to be said about putting it away, especially as you're getting ready for what is likely to be an increased stressful time, right? I tell my daughter all the time, comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so being on social media, it's really easy for students, I mean, adults too, let's be honest. It's easy to get on there and be like, oh, wow, that person's life is so perfect. What's wrong with me? Right? And so you're right. People only put the perfect things out there. And so, yeah, I love the idea of just putting it away, having some self-control, using it for a limited amount of time, and then jumping off and either going to work out, jump back into your books, get into your study session, right? Like whatever it might be, dance for 10 minutes, like whatever you have to do to just sort of break away from that comparison, because I think that's what happens a lot on social media. So thank you so much.
I just want to say a couple more
Yeah.
things on that. Okay, so and I didn't touch on hydration.
Oh yeah.
So your brain is like mostly water. So
Mm.
you guys need to stay hydrated. And here in Arizona, it's always dry, so we just know to drink water. But I know that when it's cold, wherever y'all are at, it's hard to think about, okay, I gotta drink some water, even if you're drinking like tea, but just something that you guys can get, you gotta hydrate your brain. Like you've got to hydrate. And if you ever notice, like in the summer when you guys drink a lot of water, you feel better. It's weird, but it's also detoxing your body. Because I know that, none of us are perfect eaters. And I'm sure that, holidays I mean, everybody's making so many amazing things that you just want to try. I thank God for me that I'm gluten free, so I don't get to try everything. It kind of maybe helps me a little bit, but um, you got to detox. You got to, and with this COVID, hydration is number one. So I'll put there's a couple of electrolytes that I recommend, and I swear by them. So that, and I also wanted to say other thing about starting your morning out with journaling,
Mm.
or if at night, one of the two, or both. So one, when you go to sleep, whatever your brain is, did you ever notice like whatever you're worried about, sometimes you dream about it? So your brain is actually through sleeping, your brain is actually processing your stuff. So your body can either heal while you're sleeping, or your body can or it can try and figure out whatever you're actually worried about that's not really actually going to happen. So a couple of things, write down your worries, but if you could read something or listen to something positive before you go to sleep, or say 5 things that you're grateful about yourself. Like, what did I do today that was really good? I'm proud of myself for this. Get in the habit of it, because you're your best advocate. And again, it's your power. Like it's giving you your power back. And then starting your morning, like, what am I grateful for? Because it starts the trickle effect, because it really is what we manifest.
Mm.
Ever notice, like, once you start, this happens all the time as a parent, once you start like trickling, like, oh my gosh, that happened, oh my gosh, and then it just keeps going, and you're like, really, is something gonna come out and say that I'm getting punked? No, but it's true. So you just have to, like, if you is easier said than done, but as much as you can, if you can start your day with something that fills you up and gives you, like, just like, I'm gonna have a great day today. Today is gonna be awesome. And you just start that way. I wish you, like, I can't wait to hear if you guys have tried it and see what's changed. So that was, I just wanted to add those couple.
Awesome. Thank you. Really, really great additional tidbits for sure. Um, Another stressor that our high school students, in particular seniors, are facing right now is the college admission decisions, right? Many students applied early action, which is usually mid-November, and we'll be getting those decisions around mid-December, which happens to coincide with finals. So much fun. And so there might be, for class of 2021, some added stress around A, doing really well in their classes, and B, what do I do with a deferred admission or if I've been denied, right? These are real concerns that a lot of the class of 2021 has right now or going into the same week as finals. And so we just thought it would be a good opportunity to talk through some of this. Let's sort of define it a little bit. Um, so again, like I said, early action timelines are around November 15th. It would be the same timeline for early decision one. And I won't dive too deep into this just because I really want to stay on topic, but I just want to sort of take a 50,000-foot view of it really quick. Early action is when you apply, just as the name sounds, early to a college. And you can apply to as many early action schools as you'd like. There's, in a traditional true to form early action, there's no commitments there. There is also a restricted early action. Many of the highly selective or selective universities have moved to an REA application cycle. So this is sort of half EA, half ED in the sense that you can only apply to one REA school at a time. So restricted early action versus early action. And then we have the third option, which is early decision. Early decision means that you apply to a school, and if they say yes, that is where you're going. It's a commitment, right? You are saying to a college or university, I am extremely interested in you. If you say yes, I am there. Again, that differs from the early action, as there is no commitment or binding component of early action. But because of the binding component of early decision, you can only apply to one early decision school. Many schools have moved to two different ED timelines, ED1 and ED2. ED1, as I've already discussed, ED2 is in the regular decision timeline, which I will get to in just a minute. So what does deferred mean? If a student receives a deferral notice from their early action or even their early decision or REA application, that just means that the college needs a little bit more information to make a final admission decision. So what they do is they take that student and they move them into the regular decision pool and sort of evaluate them in that pool. Usually, the regular decision pool is significantly larger than the early action or early decision pool. And so students are then being evaluated against thousands of more students. However, it is a second look at their application. So there can be some tremendous benefit to that. If students, again, find themselves in a deferred position, there are some real practical things that families and students can do One, first and foremost, would be to send a mid-year report to that institution. The mid-year report would consist of updated GPA, updated ranking, and a new transcript, making sure that the school has all of that information. In addition, students can articulate and sort of highlight if there have been any changes in their situation since the start of the semester. That could be a number of examples. So maybe, COVID has really impacted your school. Maybe you were 100% in person, now you've moved to 100% online. That is a challenge for you, but you have found some very specific ways to overcome that challenge. You would want to articulate that. If maybe a class was canceled, a class that was initially on your schedule has been canceled just due, maybe as an elective, and just due to sort of the back and forth with in person, not in person, has caused some challenges for a school. You want to articulate that, right? There are just a lot of things that you have the opportunity to articulate in a deferral setting that can potentially give you or give the school more insight into who the applicant is and how they would best fit at their institution. So definitely work with your school counselor. At Farrat, we do this a lot with students as necessary, is we help them sort of write their deferral letter or talk through that with any teachers and or counselors to help students be prepared for that. But what do you do if you've been denied, right? Nobody likes rejection. Rejection is hard on any level, at any age, any season of life. Nobody wants to be rejected, right? Um, but I think what I want to encourage students with first and foremost, if you are denied or rejected admission for an early action or early decision application, please know that it is not personal. This is not an indictment on you by the school in any way. It is just simply, in many cases, a numbers game. In some cases, you aren't the right fit, but that again doesn't mean that you aren't the right fit everywhere. I think that that's a real natural deduction of information for students is if one school says, no, I must not be a good fit anywhere, so I'm just not going to go to college, right? That is absolutely not where I want students or families to go in the thought process of being denied or rejected. There are plenty of regular decision schools that you can apply for. So I would always encourage that if students have been rejected from early action, REA, or early decision. Regular decision is usually the end of January to end of December to potentially mid-January. It just depends on the institution. So there's still plenty of time to sort of start thinking about that now if you're class of 2021 and preparing for that. Again, regular decision, if you apply December to January, you will hear back about March. So it's a little bit longer of a return process, if you will, on the application cycle, but it is absolutely worth it. So definitely encourage students to be, even now, before you get your results back, that you just start looking through and considering what schools, in addition to where you've already applied, might be a good fit for you. Again, if you need help with that, we are always here to help, to assist, to walk students through that. I know it can be confusing and stressful, and it can feel last minute at this point, but don't feel that way. You have plenty of time. Think of it in the sense that you've actually already submitted some of your application materials. So you are already familiar with the process. So that definitely will cut down on sort of the concerns with timeline and things like that. So again, biggest thing is for students to know that rejection is not personal. Again, it can feel that way just because you've taken all of this time in writing a personal statement. You've shared your story. You've talked about implications of COVID on your life and all of these sorts of things. But schools are, having to make some really challenging decisions this year. And so class of 2021, anything goes, I kind of feel like, just the year that we've had. But I just want to sort of echo something that Christina has already said, is to stay positive. Definitely, again, don't get down on yourself for the situation, or for being denied or even deferred. Students can feel very upset and sort of frustrated with a deferral. Don't be. Stay positive, stay focused. What is the next thing you need to do? And take those next appropriate steps. And again, always up for more questions or conversation around that note as necessary. So that just sort of leads into something I want you to be able to share and talk a little bit about, Christina, is coping with the uncertainty of rejection. College admissions, there's nothing guaranteed in college admissions. But I feel like that's pretty similar to life, which is what I think you want to talk about.
So again, I want you guys to have your own power. Like, you guys really, this is your life. Like, nobody is in charge. It's you. So I want you guys to know that, again, I know I keep saying, I really don't feel as old as I am, but I've lived a lot of years, and, there's so many times where I'm like, I don't understand why I got rejected. But what was on the other side was amazing. Like, there's so many things. I mean, I've had a clothing business. I've had a lot of, I used to go and talk to kids, to the schools about stress and anxiety. And one of them was us as parents. So I will acknowledge that too. So I'm like, what do you mean, on the grades? But I want you guys to know that, if you get rejected, it's only like, I know it hurts. It's the first breakup. It's all of it. Like, it's, but know that there's something way better on the other side, and you can't even harbor on it, because for me, my faith is what saved me. So I will tell you, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? It must have not have been right. And this has been just plenty of years of training. So if you guys now else to go, "Oh, they don't want me. Okay, well, then there must be something better for me," because that's the truth. Like, your whole life is laid out in front of you guys. And what you think might be awesome for you or the right decision, maybe the higher power has some other thing in store for you, and you're supposed to do something so much greater than you thought. And you just never know what your path is, but always know that if there's some rejection, that it's just getting you prepared to be more resilient and for something better. You can't allow yourself to be like, oh, and harbor on it. You can be sad about it, but okay, all right, so now what's next? Okay, that wasn't good for me, and just move on, because again, you'll be rejected by a lot of things in life. I mean, and a lot of things, things that you don't even think about, that they'll come to you and you're going to be like, what? And it's true. Then when you have your own, this is just preparing you for life. And that's how I hope that you can reframe that, instead of putting that pressure on yourself and the disappointment, because the world will do that on their own to you. So you have to build yourself up and build you, and you be the power, because you are. And so you need to walk around knowing that, it's all going to work out, because there's nothing you can do about it. If they've rejected you, it just wasn't right. And so then you just move on, because you're not going to muscle them. You're not going to be like, oh, it doesn't work that way. And in real life, it doesn't work that way. So you just look at it as it's like training for real life, because once you guys become parents, your life is not your own at all. So nothing, it goes as I plan. I mean, it does, but it's not my schedule anymore. Like, I'm like, what do you mean? So I'm just saying, it's just something to just, look at the other colleges and all the other, and just know that the rejection was totally just not the right fit, and it's totally okay. And you're going to go somewhere else. You're going to do something else that's way more better and more powerful for you and your fit. So, I mean, these schools have been doing this for years, right? So we're just trying this. And so I know going into a new territory, it's already like nerve, but you guys got this. Like, you have the power. And then, what else did I wanted to tell you guys? Oh, it also gives you guys grit. Like it gives you like resilience, like meaning like, well, all right, whatever. I mean, have you ever known that kid that they're like, oh, what? Okay. All right. Well, then I'll move on to the next. So it's just giving you a little bit more grip for life. And it gives you more time back because you're not wasting time on beating yourself up. Just know that there's something else out there that's better.
Yeah, definitely. And there's always a benefit, I think, to hindsight. Hindsight they say is 2020, which is for sure. But I do think that what you said about something better waiting um,
Yeah.
is huge. I just think, yeah, I think that's really huge. So,
Yes. I
mm,
didn't know that when I was your guys' age, though. I know.
true.
So just trust me. Trust the lady that's telling you.
And I do think, like, just sort of you were talking about earlier, being able to have and think on things that are good and right and true, right? That's really, really important. And so I love this image that you have for us today. So could you share a little bit about sort of what the purpose is behind the image on the screen?
So I designed this because for me, I'm a visual learner and I wanted to create a printout for you guys to like put on even like on your mirror or whatever it is, because for me, like I have to see things. So like I have to remember, even though I should know better a lot, but we still forget, we're humans. So I wanted you guys to see the visual of what's in your control, like what you say to yourself, like your thoughts are literally just thoughts. And but if you feed them, right, like almost like what happens to the wolves that you feed, they come back. But if you don't feed the wolves, you don't feed the thoughts, they go away. So you can think of it that way. Like if you don't, or the cat, like if you don't feed the stray cat, it's not going to come back. So
Mhm,
don't feed the thoughts, just let them flow through.
mhm,
But if you feed it, then you're in it. So just remember, on your self-talk, and it's if you're unsure of your self-talk, I mean, I know that, I don't, everybody, we all have different lifestyles. And because I didn't have anybody around to tell me that I was, doing a good job or, oh, I love you or any of that, I didn't learn like positive self-talk. So I had to learn that and research it out. So what I would do, I mean, back then I would read like a Hallmark card. I know that seems silly, but it's the truth. And so now, I mean, there's so many resources online. Like you guys can go and you can, get a YouTube like little video. Somebody said, is going to say something positive, or, there's the Daily Calm app. That's a really cool app. There's Headspace. There's a lot of cool things that you can just take 10 minutes to pour into yourself. And it's really important, and how you treat your body, because if you're not feeding it right and you're not,
mhm,
basically like the dog. If you're not walking the dog, if you're not feeding the dog right, then the dog is not going to act like a good dog. It's going to be, lethargic, tired, wanting you to take it for a walk. So that's what your body is. Like you need to treat yourself with how you would treat others. Like what would you say to, your friend? Well, you would say something, just think of that too. So, and you guys can see, what's in your control, but, and out of your control, like, honestly, like, there's so much is out of your control. Like
mhm.
others' actions, what we talked about online, what do those people think? This is a big one. When I was your age, I babysat to go and again, I really feel old actually doing this thing because I keep dating myself. But I would babysit so I could have guest jeans. Okay. With the little square or triangle, whatever. I think Courtney knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They were expensive jeans back then. They were like, I don't know, $70. So I would babysit so that I could have these Guess jeans and buy these Guess jeans so that I look like I'm the part. But who cares? Like, really? Like, why did I even care? Like, we care so much about what other people think. And here's what I'm going to tell you. They are so self-absorbed. They're not even thinking about you. Again, I'm giving you a news flash. They're not. They're so self-absorbed about their self. They're not even thinking about like, oh, were her nails done? Oh, were her, just silly things. They're not thinking about it. But what they will remember is how you showed up and if you were nice or not. So, you're not in charge of other people's feelings. Like I know that some of us, we become these empaths and we try to like totally like, oh, let me take all your burdens. And well, they're not learning the lesson. We can be there for them. Trust me, I've done it several times.
Mm.
Um, I mean, literally the school SEA made me the ambassador of compassion. Yeah,
Oh,
made that position. So I'm speaking really out of like a lot of experience of me doing that so much.
Yeah.
So if you can, you really can't though, because then it takes away from who all of it from what you're doing. And then they don't learn the lesson. If we rescue them, we don't learn the lessons. So you can be there for them, you can support them, but you don't need to rescue them. That's up to them, you know? And it's not up to you guys. It's not out of your control if people are upset unless you were mean to them. If you're mean to them, then you need to say you're sorry. But if they're upset, like you can't control their feelings. And I think that we as parents have become, I will admit it, like my mom was not there, right? My mom sucked. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be a great parent. But then I became a parent that was like hovering. Like, I mean, and you're like, oh, trying to control. You can't, I mean, we can't do that. Like you become codependent on other people and what they, and you build it as a routine. So then you start behaving like that longer. So you just, if you can stay in your lane, you don't worry about other people. You can be kind. You can ask them for if they need a hand, but you don't need to do the whole thing for them. You can lead them and just stay next to them. We can't control what other people say because I'm sure that you guys, unfortunately, you guys see stuff on social media, but who cares? Like I'll give you an instant. Like my daughter had, she saw a little girl bullying another little boy and like making fun of him, and I was so proud of her because she's an empath. Duh. I mean, that wasn't fall far from the tree, but she said to the little girl, she's like, how would you feel if somebody did that to you? And then she said, and I don't care what you say after this about me. So go ahead and say what you want. So my point on that is what other people say, right? She didn't even give them an opportunity to give a feedback of like, oh, whatever, going, but she was sticking up for the kid. So my point is that she already nailed it. Like, I don't care. And it's true. Like, really, like, who cares? Like, that's their problem.
It's
You know,
very true.
yeah. I mean, people, and there's something. It's never about you guys. Like, honestly, if that was one thing that I wish I would have known when I was your age. I mean, I was bullied. I bullied, which is why I have so much life experiences to share with you guys. But I was so angry because I didn't have anybody at home.
Mm.
I acted out. And I also was very standoffish because I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't have parents at home,
Mm.
right? Like all these other parents, I mean, all these other my friends, they had parents. But come to find out, now that I've started to share my story, all these people had no idea that I went to high school with. And I mean, they had no idea, but they also had other stuff going on too that I had no idea. So
Mm.
you never know. So we just have to give people grace and just stay in our lane.
It's true. I love what you said, specifically about kindness, right? People remember kind people. And so that little boy that you were speaking of who was being bullied will remember the kindness of your daughter. I think that kindness definitely carries a lot of weight, especially right now. And so there's just lots of different ways, very practical ways that people can be kind to one another. And I think listening is huge, right? And engaging, being okay to engage with somebody who has, different viewpoints from you or whatever. But yeah, kindness is a big deal. So, okay, we are quickly running toward the end of our time together. But I definitely want Christina to share just some of your thoughts on preparing for the next semester as students get ready to embark on Christmas break, which is just beyond finals. So we are quickly approaching this time. So just any, insights or anything you'd like to share on students preparing for next semester.
I think a couple of things. I think, this year is way different than any other year. So you guys are really making history. So I want you guys, if you can, one, give yourself a break after finals, right? You've done it. Like you're all right, we're good. We did our best, right? And if there's something you need to learn from it, maybe jot it down so you can do better next time. Or whatever, or there's something that you learned that you were like, wow, I really got through that. That was cool. Just share your successes with yourself, kind of going back to the journaling, like what you're grateful for or what you saw in yourself. Like, what did you do today? Like, what did you do that made that so much better? And it's kind of cool because then you have your brain actually retains what you write. So if you write it down, I'm old school. Like I write everything down. I don't use my phone for my calendar. I know that you guys are a different generation, which that's fine. But I had to learn even like with my daughter with dyslexia, like that is the truth. Like she had to write stuff out and then she would remember it. When you're doing it online, you don't always retain it. So whatever you put on paper, your brain is connecting to your hand, like they're connecting. So you'll remember it. And then it gets into your brain. So the next time that you're stressed out, because I don't know about you guys, but when you do get stressed out, you forget things. Like we forget and we know these things. But if it's in there and it's in your toolbox, you got it. So you don't have to worry about it. And then, when you guys are on Christmas break, enjoy your family. Like, I know it's weird. I know that, it's an interesting time and everybody has a different thing that's gone on in their life or that they're going through. Give yourself grace, give your family grace, give other people grace. You deserve that. And I want you to remember this time because you guys are, I know, you want to be on social media, you want to do all this stuff because you got a break, but enjoy your family. Because, there's a lot of times that I wish that, when I did spend time with my grandpa, I wish that I would have asked him questions and I would have learned about him. And I mean, he lived to be 101 years old. Like, but I wish that I would have taken that time and I can't get that back. Like, you guys can't get time back. You can always get on social media and catch up, but you can't get the time with your family and your loved ones back. And that is something that when I was your age, I had a different upbringing, but we didn't think about it anyways. You're more of like, oh, let's go be with our friends. Let's go. Obviously, you can't really do a lot of that because of COVID and all of the restrictions. So just embrace your family. Like you guys can make like do a Christmas scavenger hunt. And I had told Courtney too, in the next couple of days, we'll send you guys out an email and a little bit of like printouts of what you guys can share and everything that I've covered so that there's just some fun activities that you guys can do. You guys can make Christmas ornaments that just need salt, flour, and water. I mean, it's so cool. You make your COVID Christmas ornaments. Just something to do, or there's you guys to build your family up. Listen, no family's perfect, and some of you may not be talking to each other. I get that, but what if there's one person that tries, right? Like you send like a little every day you say something nice to one of your family members, and you write it on a little piece of paper and you put it at their door, or you put it somewhere where they'll find it. I promise you, like at the end of the day, like all of these things of being kind it's for other people, but it's mostly for you and your heart. So just like they say, like when you forgive people, it's not the forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for yourself and your heart. So when you're being kind, your brain automatically shifts. You automatically feel better. So if you're being kind to somebody that, really maybe, one of your little brother, like I don't, and it annoyed you, but you're still something that you love about him. I can't wait to hear what you have done and how it made you feel. We just don't think of those things, and us as parents, we're so like worried about, oh my gosh, I gotta get all this stuff done. And then it's like, okay, COVID, okay, now I've got to wait 3 hours at the groceries. There's so much, but is there? Like, we really don't have to. I have to remind myself, like, what are we in a hurry for? You're not in a hurry. Like, and to be quite honest, COVID has made us not in a hurry at all. So what are we trying to do? Like, we can't get back time. And I'm reminding myself, right? So I'm saying this to myself too, but you can't get back time. So you can't get back the time with your family, and you can't, you know, you just can't. So I'm asking you guys to really, really embrace your family. And, like you guys can do a Christmas scavenger hunt. You can make, the Christmas ornaments with flour, salt, and water. You guys can do I'll send it to you guys. I don't know, you guys are maybe too old, but with my clients, I do a COVID time capsule. And each one of us, it's kind of cute, but it's something, that you're doing during COVID. And the reason is that this isn't going to happen forever. So this is going to go on. We're going to come out of this, and we're going to look back 20 years, and it's going to be in the history book. You'll have something like doing just like how, remember, well, maybe you guys don't remember, but when, the launch the internet, all these things like 9/11, all these, what were you doing at that time? So, that's the part that I just want you guys to remember. If you guys can, you just can't get time back. And I encourage you guys to spend time with your loved ones and yourself and your friends and just give yourself grace. And every
Yeah. No, I love that, Christina. And just to point out, we will be sharing with attendees and even people after who haven't attended the webinar. We'll be sharing sort of a resources document that will include many of the things that we've addressed today and that we've talked about. But really what I think I heard mostly in sort of what to do this Christmas break is sort of the notion of you before me, right? Thinking of someone else and how to brighten someone else's day. And on top of that, be thankful. And so I think that that's a great transition and segue into really being thankful. And you touched on this a little bit, just now, but, just being thankful for the little things in life, right? But to some people, having a family is a really big thing. And so engaging in that, and again, the idea of you before me, I think sort of easily lends itself to thankfulness. Um, so I love that. I love what you were saying about that. So
I just want to say one more thing too.
yeah.
So, also, not everybody has a family that's together. So I want to, obviously this hits home.
Mhm.
I want to encourage you, sorry, I want to encourage you to, if you're feeling lonely or you're feeling like, I don't have a full family, we don't have this, she's talking about this, like the cookie cutter. We don't have it either, but reach out to somebody that can fill you, because that's really it. Like, just reach out to people that will fill your bucket, because that's really the truth of it. So I just wanted to give you that too.
Yeah, no, I love that. In the interest of time, we've had to sort of modify this presentation. We're chatters, that's okay. But I think what you said is vital. There are resources for every situation that a student can find themselves in. And so absolutely reach out for help. Communication is huge. I feel like we can't stress that enough. I mean, there you can text, you can call anonymously. There are many resources locally and nationally. In addition, like I said, on our research page, we will be including just some local agencies that helps with all the things that you see on the screen: suicide prevention, some mental health support in the Phoenix metro area. These things are real this time of year. And so I think hopefully what we're able to communicate and sort of talk about is to remove the stigma of shame or guilt or anything like that. I think there are so many people who are understanding and aware of these situations that reaching out and talking about this, um, there's no guilt there or shame there. So thank you for bringing that up, Christina. I think that that is huge. And one of the things we had to modify sort of out of the presentation today is financial stress. And so don't forget, there are local food banks if families find themselves sort of struggling to get Christmas dinner on the table or even a Tuesday night dinner, right? So there are many things that you can do to help your situation. And then again, that notion of you before me, encouraging people to find ways to donate time, resources, energy to organizations that really help and benefit and help families during this time. This would be a great way to say, it adds activities to your college application. And that's true. But I also like to say that it reveals your heart, right? It reveals the heart of the student. And quite frankly, not to take the sentiment away, but colleges like to see that too. They want to know who you are, and having a heart for others, caring for others is huge. Because the reality is a college is going to see that and they're going to say, oh, that student is going to be engaged in those kind of activities on our campus. we need that. We need people who are willing to remove the stigma around domestic violence or assault or mental health and have conversations. And so it's huge. It's huge to be able to volunteer for these organizations. So thank you for bringing that up. That's really, really helpful, Christina. Is there anything else you wanted to say about any of the resources before I
I
close this out?
You know what? And if you guys don't know, honestly, you guys can reach out to us at Golden Heart Wellness and I'll find something for you because it's important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You know what? It's obviously you can see I speak from my heart, but I want you to know too, if you guys if you don't have family or there's something, then go and just like what she said, just go and donate your time and go and reach out. And honestly, like you'll be so filled. And I do believe that the world is shifting. It's not all about like what the academic numbers look like. It's really, I think Kortney said, it really is, they're looking at your heart because we need more heart. That's part of the reason I believe that this is all taking place is we need more heart.
Mm.
We need to get back to our what we are here for.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you so much. Um, so just as we close out this afternoon, this session, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your time and engaging. We have, as you can see on the screen, phone numbers, emails, websites. Please feel free to reach out to connect. Also, one person or two people will be selected to receive a free educational assessment from Perot Education, as well as, I believe, a wellness experience with you, Christina, some nutrition and things of that nature. So great opportunities to further engage with, again, managing your stress, the academic stress and sort of the social emotional stress that we are approaching. In a healthy and well way. That's really, really important. So, Christina, I thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. This was lovely. But do you have any closing words for our participants before I end our time?
I would say just stay in your lane, stay true to who you are, keep your eyes going forward because you're not going back, and give yourself grace and everybody else around you grace. And really just put others before yourself when you are feeling down or anything. Just if you can do something nice for somebody else, I promise you it'll change it.
Absolutely.
For you
Awesome.
or whatever, we're always here for you.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Christina. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to connecting again soon.
Bye.
Bye.